Hi guys, welcome back to Cool Movie Ratings podcast, and today we're talking about why I enjoy seeing classic movie theaters in the theater, and I'm going to be going over every single classic movie I've seen in the theater. So if you follow me on Instagram, I've been posting basically every single one I've seen, and I've missed a couple, but I haven't really gone into a ton of depth talking about my experience seeing classic movies. But I want to start off talking about why I even enjoy going to see classic movies in the theater, because it is just a totally different experience to see classic movies in the theater, because you get the ability to see the film how it was supposed to be originally seen, however many years ago it was created, and usually the audio and quality can be amazing. And I've been to some awesome um, releases of movies, of classic movies back on the big screen, where it has made the film completely different. So I want to go over. I'm going to start now by talking every single film that I've seen in a theater. And the first one we're starting off with, I saw Jaws at the Senator Theater in 2019, or June 2019. This was the first um, classic movie I ever saw in the theater, and I just absolutely loved it. And it really did send me down a path, and I just absolutely love it because the Senator Theater is the greatest theater of all time. It's not super close to where I live, but not super far. And I've been to a lot of films, or not a lot. I've been to only five, one including that just happened earlier this week, which I'll talk about way later. But got to see Jaws, which started my love for seeing classic movies in the theater. It was just an amazing experience, and it set me down a track. At least once a year, I have to see Jaws in the theater, and it started with this showing of Jaws. And the audio and screen in The Senator is just the greatest audio of all time. I would say that IMAX, it's basically equivalent to IMAX. And Senator is just an awesome experience, and this is the film that made me realize that the Senator Theater is the greatest theater of all time. Next up, I saw Jurassic Park at the Senator, and they had a great revival lineup. Their revival lineups are kind of slacking. There's been one revival from each lineup that I have seen out of their entire seasonal thing. There's only one actual movie I'm interested in, but this one they killed it because they did Jaws and then Jurassic Park later that summer. My entire family went. My mom and my sister went with me and my dad. And all these, it's basically just me and my dad for every single one of these. It's my dad takes me to do all this, and it's just awesome. But Jurassic Park, this was deafening because of how loud it is in the Senator. This next film was definitely louder, but this was louder than Jaws, and when the T-Rex roared, it shook the theater. It was crazy, but very awesome. I really enjoyed seeing Jurassic Park at the Senator in July of 2019. So I'm going by order of when I saw it, and yeah, I should have stated that. So I'll give the month and the year, and then I'll just go until current date, and yeah. Next up after Jurassic Park, I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and at this point, those were my top three movies of all time, so this was really awesome, because Jaws was my favorite movie, Jurassic Park was my second favorite movie, and Close Encounters was my third favorite movie. So this was awesome to see my three favorite movies in, 2 months span, and I saw this one in September of 2019, and there wasn't barely any people compared to how there was for Jurassic Park and Jaws, but that makes sense. Close Encounters is a little bit more of a not obscure movie, but not as popular as obviously Jaws and Jurassic Park. But this is still probably the loudest movie I've ever seen in the theater, because when the ship goes ba 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 boom boom, it blows your eardrums out, and that kind of already does that even if you watch it at home. But in that theater, that's humongous, and they've got me and my dad counted when we went earlier this week, and there's 12 speakers in this place. It's crazy, and yeah, it was very cool. And Close Encounters is one that I really do need to rewatch more, because I kind of forget about it. I don't forget about it. I don't watch it as much as other Spielberg movies, but it is still, I would say probably top 25 movies. I don't know. I have to rewatch it because I haven't watched it in a long time. But we took a big break. Like, I got out of it, and I thought it was awesome, but I got out of it, and until June of 2020, when COVID happened, this theater, Benji's Drive-In Theater, which is also not very close to where I live, but close enough where we could go without it being a giant journey. And we saw a double feature, and the first film we saw, and that was Jaws. So this was my annual viewing of Jaws for this year, or for 2020, and it was really awesome because it was my first experience ever in a drive-in. I've been back to Benji's twice, which I'll talk about later, but it was really late because it was or was it? It was July 2020, not even June 2020, but it was like right after July 4th, and since it was summer, it took so long to get dark. It was like almost 10 o'clock when the movie started, and it ran until midnight, and then they had a whole intermission for like an hour, and then they literally showed Jurassic Park after that. We were literally there till 3 a.m., but I stayed up through the whole thing. Still one of my favorite memories. So awesome to see a double feature of, at this point, Jaws and Jurassic Park were my second and third favorite movies, and they're still, both of them are still my top 4 movies, and yeah, so super great to see that. Very interesting, and it was packed because there wasn't much to do during COVID, and drive-ins made a huge comeback, and Benji's Drive-In was really cool. And then we went until, I forgot about this one. So my local theater, they got this giant screen put out in their parking lot and literally made their own drive-in. It was so cool. They ran it throughout the summer, and I saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom at that, and it was really cool because they got decent amount of people there, and it was just really cool because this theater, I still go to it. It's the nicest theater in my area, and I go and see usually big like premieres that I go to that theater, and they literally had a drive-in screen put in, and it was actually really cool. And they took it down. I kind of wish they would have kept it because at that point, theaters had reopened like a few months after. Theaters reopened, but they kept the drive-in screen. They got more sales than the inside theater did. So I don't know why they took it down. That would have been so awesome if they kept running that. But Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I like this movie. I would say I love this movie. I prefer Last Crusade, but this is my second favorite in the franchise. I have to rewatch Raiders because I haven't watched it in a long time. But I love Temple of Doom. It was great seeing it at the local drive-in, which wasn't very far at all, but very cool to see that in August of 2020. And then we went back to Benji's Drive-In, and we saw a double feature of The Goonies and Men in Black. I really went for The Goonies because The Goonies is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a top 10 movie for me. It is a film that got me into movies, like, after Toy Story and all the animated stuff, because I would believe I was 5 or 6. And those were, like, really, that was the movie that, like, took me into movies like that, and then Back to the Future. Those were the two that really pushed me over, like, very childish movies and sent me down the more, not adult, but, like, more, I would say, preteen movies. And The Goonies is just so awesome. I still watch it a lot, and one of my favorite movies. Men in Black, it's decent. It's never been one of my favorites, but we really didn't have much better to do, so we just stayed and watched it. I like it. Of course, it's got Will Smith, whose career is just destroyed this year because of the thing that happened at the Oscars. But he's pretty good in Men in Black, and I don't own Men in Black. I've never really rewatched it since I watched it once at home and then watched it at this drive-in. But it's a decent enough movie. Cool to see it on a drive-in, I guess. But I definitely went to Benji's in September of 2020. That's when this took place, right before school started. I remember that. And I definitely went to see The Goonies. And then here we have, right after that, I think probably 2 weeks after that, I went and saw Back to the Future in an actual theater. So this is when theaters returned, and they didn't really return because a lot of people weren't big on them. So no movies were out in theaters. So all my local theaters just put out classic movies because there was no movies to show. And the theater that put out the drive-in screen, the local theater, they put out Back to the Future, and me and my family went to see it. It was like $5 a ticket for their nice recliner seats. Very great theater, and super cool to see Back to the Future because that is another top 10 movie for me. That and the Goonies are basically tied for me because they're the perfect double feature in my opinion. They've got nothing to do with each other. They're both released in quite possibly the second greatest year of cinema, 1985, behind 1984. And I'll probably make a podcast talking about 1984 because that is just a crazy year for cinema. But Back to the Future, super great to see it. And yeah. And then next up in October 2020, I saw Total Recall in the theater. This was for its 30th anniversary, put in by Fathom Events. Now, a lot of this is Fathom Events. This was the first one I went to, but I'll point out the others that were Fathom Events that put it back in the theater. And I got to see Total Recall, which is probably my third or fourth favorite Arnold movie. I love it so much, and it is one of my favorite movies, I'll say that. And really cool to see it. And there was, I believe, me and my dad were the only ones in the theater, and there might have been one other person, but that's the case with a lot of older movies. The next up, later in October 2020, I remember it was Halloween Eve, and this was the first time we really drove far to see a movie, and we saw Halloween 1978 at the Christiana Mall, which we literally had to go across states because I live in Maryland, and we went to Delaware, and we saw the original Halloween. That was my movie that I was obsessed with at that point because halfway through October 2020, I watched Halloween for the first time, and it just sent me down a path which I've never really gotten off of because I still really only talk about horror, it feels like now, but on Halloween, I was just so addicted to it at that point where I was like, okay, this is not super, super far. It was, I believe, an hour away, and we were like, okay, we can do this, and we went and saw it, and it was great, and it had a few people in it, but the Christiana Mall, dude, I believe it's one of the biggest malls in the U.S. It is a huge mall, and it was really cool to walk around, and we were worried we were going to get COVID at that point, but somehow, not trying to jinx myself, but I still haven't, me or my family, not a single one of us hasn't gotten COVID throughout this entire thing, so that's good, not trying to jinx it, but super cool to see it at the Christiana Mall, and yeah, we took a break from the month of November 2020, and then in December 2020, we saw Die Hard at my local theater. Die Hard, one of my favorite movies of all time. If you count it as a Christmas movie, it's the greatest Christmas movie. I do kind of count it as a Christmas movie, but like, I'm naming my favorite Christmas movie. I say Polar Express because that is, I try and count movies that are fully Christmas, but if you want to count Die Hard as a Christmas movie, it's really between that and Gremlins, and I don't know which one I like more, Gremlins or Die Hard. I might have to give the edge to Die Hard, and just an absolutely amazing action movie. Have to watch it at least twice a year, definitely during December, but I got to see that, which was cool, and yeah. Next up, I saw Elf, and this was a private event held by our friends, and we got to go, and it was awesome to see Elf because I have to think about it where, like, what I count as Christmas movies and where I put it, but most likely Elf is my second favorite actual Christmas movie. Up there is Polar Express. Polar Express is number one, and Elf is number two, and just super amazing to see this, and I saw it, I think, closer to Christmas in December 2020. And yeah, really cool to see Elf. Rest in peace, James Caan, absolutely amazing actor who was in Elf, and he's the main lead in Misery. I can't remember his name, and he's in The Godfather as Sonny. And yeah, but January 2021, I saw The Karate Kid at a theater. We had to drive, I think not super crazy far, not as far as the Christiana Mall, but we were still in the same state. But um, to see the Karate Kid, because I got into Cobra Kai during um, COVID. Like I remember right around when I saw one of the movies at Benji's, I was watching Cobra Kai. So I got into Cobra Kai, and oh, this makes sense because season 3 had just come out, I believe. Yeah, season 3 had just released, so I was really into Cobra Kai, and season 3 of Cobra Kai is still my favorite season. And so that's all I was thinking at that point. And they released the Karate Kid back into theaters for its. I don't think it was for an anniversary. I just think it was because Cobra Kai was popular at that time. It's super cool to see that because Karate Kid, one of my favorite movies. I know I've said that like 5 times, or every single movie on this list, basically, besides Men in Black, I've said is one of my favorite movies. But I really only see classic movies if I absolutely love them. And it was definitely cool to see the Karate Kid because after watching so much Cobra Kai, it was great to see the original on the big screen. And yeah. Next up, on Groundhog Day, my local theater put in the theaters Groundhog Day, and it was really cool because like as mentioned, I got to see it on actual Groundhog Day. I'd seen it before, but it had been at least 5 years, and I didn't. There was a giant blank in my head of the entire movie. I remembered the opening, and I really didn't remember anything else. And I watched it. It was basically like watching a movie for the first time in the theater, and I absolutely loved it. And it is, I would probably say in my top 10 comedies. And I got to watch it every Groundhog Day. And it was just really cool to actually see it on Groundhog Day with my dad. And yeah. Next up, we have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I actually got a private event for this for my birthday, and I invited all my friends. That was cool. It was my local theater, and they had like a bunch of good options, and they had like Back to the Future and other stuff. But I chose Last Crusade because that's my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I hadn't seen it in the theater, so we got to watch that for a private event in April 2021, and yeah, pretty cool. Next up, in May of 2021, we got to see Fargo, which was a Fathom event, and this was at my local theater. Fargo is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, and it's one that I forget how much I like until I watch it. I watched it about a month ago, and I just remembered how much I love this movie and how brilliant it is. And I gotta watch more of the Coen Brothers because if it's anything like Fargo, it's gonna be one of my favorite movies. And yeah. And then later that month, I saw another Fathom Events movie. I saw Stand By Me. And originally, I was gonna go see E.T. at the Senator at this point on the same day, but I literally messed up the dates, and so it wasn't showing anymore. And so I was like, oh no! But then I saw that Stand By Me was playing at a local theater instead of at the Senator, and so I was like, oh okay. And then we went and saw Stand By Me. And hindsight, E.T. is a great movie, but I really do prefer Stand By Me like 10 times over. And it was just super nice. And at that point, I was a little bit younger than the boys in Stand By Me, but now I believe I am the age that they are. I'm 13, almost. Well, I'm gonna turn 14 in April, but pretty cool to see that at the big screen. And it's one that I watch at least once a year, if not more. And then I really relate to it, and I just kind of wish that technology, as much as I love technology, doing this as for fun, as my hobby, my main hobby, doing YouTube, kind of wish that we could live like they did, because it looks like so much fun. But Stand By Me, absolutely amazing movie. Got performances from a lot of amazing actors: Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, River Phoenix, rest in peace, and Jerry O'Connell, I believe is his name. Just a great movie, awesome to see it in the theater, and got an amazing song, and it is still a song I listen to a lot, because it is a great song. Okay, and then in June of 2021, I got my annual viewing of Jaws back at the Senator Theater. Took a break in 2020 because of COVID, but it came back, and it seems like it's a thing they do yearly, and I'll mention that later. But Jaws, awesome, because since COVID was kind of not over at this point, but people where the vaccines were out and people were going places now. This film was packed. I think this might be the most people who were at a classic movie that I've been to. And super great because I saw kids of my age, even a little bit younger, to adults, and just super great to once again see the greatest movie of all, or the second greatest movie of all time. Basically, I don't know. I feel like Jaws and Terminator 2, they're basically on. I don't know which one to place in front of each other, but I give Terminator 2 a slight edge. But Jaws is just still absolutely amazing, and it is this film that I see at least once a year in the theater, and I'm so glad that I've gotten to do that for 4 years in a row now. And I saw it in 2021 at the Senator Theater, greatest theater of all time, and it was really cool to see it again because it was the first time I saw Jaws in 2019 at the Senator that really got me into seeing classic movies, and it was just an amazing experience. So we took a break from the entirety of the summer, and I didn't see any classic movies. And then in September 2021, Fathom Events put out Carrie, the 45th anniversary of Carrie. And Carrie is such a great horror movie. Um, it is one that I label as one of the best movies of the 70s, as well as one of the best horror movies. I know that there's that 4K coming out from Shout Factory at some point. I'm definitely going to snag that. I'm going to get the Steelbook, because the Steelbook just looks amazing. But I saw this at like closest theater to me, and it was great. Very interesting, because I had not seen, if you've seen Carrie, you know it's in the opening, and as a 11-year-old boy, that was pretty funny, because I was 12 at the point, but seeing that opening scene on the giant screen was something. But yeah, Carrie, great movie, love it very much. And yeah, next up, in November of 2021, I saw the Rockies 4 Director's Cut, which was another Fathom event, and this was basically, it was a completely different movie than Rocky 4, because they edited in like the end of Rocky 3, they added in so much stuff, took out so much stuff. It's a different movie. I want to see if there's a way to get it on physical media, because I haven't watched the director's cut since I watched it over a year ago at this point, and it was so awesome because it was a totally different movie. I don't know which one I prefer, because the original Rocky 4 is my second one and the second favorite in the franchise, so I'll have to really watch them back to back to see which one I like more. But the director's cut was great because it gives a totally different tone. I feel like it was more serious, which might not work in its favor, but I liked it. So, great experience, because there was a Q&A before it, which it was a live Q&A, but you were in the theater watching it, and that was one of the best parts of it. That part might have been even better than the actual movie, because Sylvester Stallone talked for, I believe it was about 30, maybe not 30 minutes, but he talked for a decent amount of time about possible Rocky TV show that he was thinking of, like a prequel TV show. And if we actually get that, that'll be so awesome. I know now that he's made his departure from the Creed movies, which really sucks, because he was probably one of the best parts of Creed, and I've seen in Creed 3 there's no mention of him, and I know he left. He's not going to be in any more of them, but I really hope that Rocky TV show comes out. But super cool to see the Rocky 4 director's cut in the theater, because totally different movie. It's not Rocky 4 anymore. It was really weird. But in December 2021, at my local theater, this one really meant a lot because I got to see the Polar Express in the theater. And the Polar Express is my all-time favorite Christmas movie, and that is solely because that is one that I watched every single year, that was my first favorite movie, and even over Toy Story, I believe. And I still have the old DVD that I have of Poltergeist, the Polar Express, and I still have the old DVD that I used to watch this movie when I was like 2, and it is so destroyed. My mom said I would literally just put this in, watch it, and then once it was over, just press play again. And I literally watched this movie like repeatedly, as many times as I could in a day. That's another reason why I think I like physical media so much, and it's because since I was basically born, I've had access to all these movies, and had an obsession with apparently opening the DVD covers, looking at them, looking at the art, and so it's really just sent me down this path, and I find that very interesting. Even since I was 2 or 3, I have been addicted to physical media, but Polar Express means so much to me. I finally got to see it in the theater, which was awesome because there wasn't many people there, and it is still my all-time favorite Christmas movie. And the audio with the trains on the big screen, that was great. And the Polar Express is one that I watch at least 3 times during the Christmas period, probably even more than that. And I am so looking into getting that 4K. I'm hoping it goes down for actual Black Friday. If it goes down to $10, I'm snagging that along with Elf and Christmas Vacation. And I really hope that goes down in price because I really do want that 4K because Polar Express means so much to me. It is, if I actually thought about it, it is probably my second favorite animated movie of all time behind Toy Story 2. But Polar Express just means so much to me, and I saw that Christmas time last year. And yeah, next one I saw in February 2022 was The freaking Shining at the Senator Theater. And this was absolutely amazing because The Shining is my 3rd favorite horror movie of all time. I believe it's my 9th favorite movie. And The Shining just means so much to me because it is just such an amazing movie. And it is not one that scares me that badly, but in the Senator Theater, they have surround sound. It's basically like IMAX. And we sat kind of near the back because there was a lot of people here, and I was the only kid in the entire theater, which I actually love when that is because it is just so funny when I get those weird looks from people. I think that is hilarious. But you could hear like parts in the score, like people talking in the score, where you couldn't hear it, like just if you watched the movie on your TV at home. And I found that so interesting and kind of creepy. And after I saw this, I looked up and kind of I was like on a kick of listening to like the theories for this movie, and yeah, it's just so crazy and so awesome to see it on the big screen. Seeing Here's Johnny on the big screen and the ending where it zooms on the picture was some of the best memories of my life, man. Just because The Shining is just such an awesome movie, and I'm so glad I got to see it. And it looks like that's something that they do annually, and God, I hope so, because February's not that far away. It's 3 months away, so I really hope that they put The Shining in the Senator Theater again, because that'll be another annual showing if they do that like they do for Jaws. But super awesome to see The Shining at the Senator. Next up, I saw this was the only one that I'd never seen anything about it before, and I had seen or it was Field of Dreams. It was at my local theater for $5 a ticket. And my dad constantly talks about how he really enjoys this one. And so me and him went and saw it, and I really loved it. I bought it on 4K. I don't think I've ever showed it off, but I bought it on 4K, and man, it was close to... Oh, hi, Dad. My dad's in the chat. But Field of Dreams, man, it was hard to watch it in the theater. Kind of wish I didn't because I was with my dad. And that was a little bit tough because I was like blubbery because the end is just so sweet. And I gotta rewatch it because I believe I've only watched it once since I saw it originally in the theater. The Field of Dreams was in April of 2022, and then we had a break until June of 2022 when I saw a Fathom event of The Thing on the big The Thing on the big screen, and this was at my Regal Cinema, and The Thing is my 4th favorite horror movie of all time, probably in my top 15 movies of all time. And John Carpenter, man, he is just the master at everything. And I think that he is the 2nd best director of all time behind Steven Spielberg because this Halloween and The Shining, man, not The Shining, The Thing, sorry. Halloween and The Thing are just 2 absolutely crazy movies, and I can't believe they're made by the same guy. But The Thing was just absolutely awesome to see on the big screen because although there's not a lot of music, the visuals on the big screen are like so disturbing. Like my favorite scene is when they're testing the blood. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion. Everyone says when I believe Norris has a heart attack and Copper sticks his hands through the body and it eats him. That's most people's favorite scene, but mine is honestly the blood test scene. That was stand out in on the big screen. I know some people weirdly had issues with it, like their theater messed up the showing. Um, I think that was like a nationwide thing. Mine was fine. And it was pretty packed. That was a pretty packed theater. So that one was cool to have a packed theater in. But The Thing, absolutely amazing. Great to see it on the big screen. Then the next movie we saw in August 2022, I will say is my favorite movie I've ever seen on the big screen. And I still cannot process it. This was in the theaters in August. And they actually put this back in the theaters for its 40th anniversary. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, is my absolute second favorite of the Halloween franchise, and it is my favorite horror sequel of all time, even over Doctor Sleep. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion. They're basically tied, but I give Halloween 3 the edge. Halloween 3 is just a film that I feel like I talk about the most out of any other film on this channel, because it is just such an underrated masterpiece in my opinion, and I just absolutely loved it so much. In the Alamo Draft House was showing it. This is the longest I've ever driven, because I had to drive to DC to see it, but oh my god, was it worth it, because I already had the mask and the zombie, or not the zombie, the skeleton outfit for Halloween 3, because I cosplayed at Monster Mania 50 as the trick-or-treater, the skeleton trick-or-treater. So I actually wore it to the theater, and it was cool that some people who were there for Halloween 3 noticed and knew who it was. But dude, the Alamo Draft House, if you live anywhere near one, just go and see a movie there, because it's a totally horror-oriented theater. And since the one I saw was in, the theater I went to was in DC, they had like movie presidents, and they had Harrison Ford from Air Force One. Just my favorite movie experience because of the absolutely amazing theater, and I got to see the legendary Halloween 3 on the big screen, and this place had absolutely amazing audio quality and visuals. And another amazing part was they showed classic movie um, trailers in front of it. They showed literally they showed a Halloween 4 trailer, and I didn't realize how awesome the Halloween 4 trailer was, and like the really deep voice, and he's like, Halloween will never be the same or something, and then the theme kicks in. I'm like, oh my god, this is Halloween 4. But they literally showed classic movie trailers of like old horror movies and weird old 50s like commercials. It is super weird, but super awesome for the experience. And then there was a little like introduction by some fans of Halloween 3, and it was just a super awesome experience, and totally worth driving an hour and 30 minutes to see it, because it was by far my favorite experience of seeing any movie in a theater, and it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see Halloween 3 on the big screen, and I'm just so grateful that I got to see it for its 40th anniversary, and I'll remember it for absolutely ever. And yeah, next up, I saw Jaws in IMAX in September 2022, and this was my yearly watching of Jaws, because the senator put out a post saying that Jaws was put on hold by Universal. They couldn't show it that year, and it was because of the IMAX release that was about to come out. So we went and saw it in IMAX. It was the first and only movie I've ever seen in IMAX, and IMAX is definitely very good. I really enjoyed IMAX, and the audio was great. Dude, they have that whole alphabet of seats. It's like 26 rows of seats. The screen is the biggest screen of all time I've ever seen. And the Senator screen's pretty big, but I believe that the IMAX screen was bigger, and the audio quality was great. There was no one there. There was like 3 people in the entire theater besides me and my dad, and it was just super awesome to see my second favorite movie of all time on the big screen. And I just absolutely loved IMAX. I really hope they put more classics in the IMAX. I know at some point they did an IMAX 3D of Jaws, or of IMAX 3D of, I believe, Terminator 2. I know they did a 3D of it, but I believe they did an IMAX of Terminator 2. And oh my god, please put that back in theaters. I'll say this now, I haven't seen Terminator 2 in the theater, and oh my god, that would be just a dream come true to just see it in some theater, because that is my favorite movie of all time. But it's definitely super cool to see Jaws at the IMAX theater. And literally like 3 days later, I got to see it in 3D. I got to see Jaws in 3D. And this one was cool because it was showing at my local theater, my local AMC. And I got to see it with my friends. And one of my friends had never even seen the movie before. I'm like, how have you never seen Jaws? And he didn't tell us that until we actually got in the theater with the 3D glasses, and I absolutely loved it in 3D. I think I will say that I enjoyed the 3D effect more than the IMAX, because the 3D was just so cool with the, it was super well. They actually had it out of focus for the first, like, 10 minutes. I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. And I'd never seen a 3D movie before, so I didn't really know how it was supposed to go. But then they fixed it. A guy walked in the theater and was like, oh, the first 10 minutes of the film has been out of focus. We're currently fixing it. Sorry for trouble. And then immediately it got so much more better. And oh my god, it was so great. And I absolutely loved seeing it in 3D. And I think I might be swayed to say the 3D was better because I was with my friends. But the jump scares in that movie, like when the head comes out the boat, dude, that's so much more elevated with 3D because the head looks like it's in front of you. So I actually think that the 3D in Jaws makes it better as an actual movie because it enhances the experience to like be scarier. And I absolutely love that about Jaws. And hey, if I know this will never happen, but if a theater ever puts Jaws 3D in theaters, that'll be dope because very underrated opinion. I feel like either you basically everyone enjoys the first two Jaws movies, and then either you hate the third one, think the fourth one's decent, or you like the third one, think the fourth one's bad, or you dislike both. I absolutely love every single Jaws movie. I'll say love for even 3 and 4. They're super guilty pleasure for me, and that would be pretty cool if they put that one in 3D. Like I saw an old post that the senator literally at one point put Jaws 3D back in the theaters with the 3D in it, so I'll be like, that would be a dream, not a dream come true, but that'd definitely be a really cool experience. But Jaws, it was really cool to see in both IMAX and 3D. And I would say I would prefer 3D. Next up, in October 2022, I got to see a double feature of Halloween and The Thing at Benji's Drive-In. Super cool to go back after more than 2 years later. I hadn't been to Benji's, and I got to go back and see two of my absolute favorite horror movies, Halloween. That was really the main reason I was there. I'd literally already seen The Thing earlier that year. So I would love The Thing, so it wasn't an issue for me. And it was cool seeing that on the drive-in, but the real main thing that got me to go was to see my favorite horror movie of all time in a drive-in. Totally worth it. Great to see Halloween on the big screen, and it was really dark by the time this Halloween started. And it was super cool to hear the theme inside your car and look up and there's just a giant pumpkin on the screen that says John Carpenter's Halloween. I have some pictures on my Instagram if you want to go and look at them. But I absolutely love both The Thing and Halloween, so it was super cool to see it at Benji's Drive-In. And yeah, so right at the end of October of this year, I got to see Dawn of the Dead in 3D at Regal. And I'm going to tell you guys this is kind of related. I am ordering some stuff so I can hang up some stuff in my room. And then I'm doing a room tour because I got something that I would say is my prized collection. My prized centerpiece of my entire collection. And I'll go in depth when I make that video, but just stay tuned for the room tour because I think I have one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my room. And it is prized. I got it because of this movie. I will explain that in the actual video. But Dawn of the Dead in actual 3D, I didn't expect this. The film would not be across the entire screen, but that really wasn't an issue because I got used to it basically immediately. And my dad did point out one kind of negative thing: the 3D, or not the 3D, the audio. It was in mono, he said, which was I didn't know what that meant. I've heard people talk about that when I talk about the audio and stuff about like a 4K, but my dad said it was in mono, so it was only in the front speakers and it was really quiet. It wasn't really quiet. I didn't really have much of an issue with it, but it wasn't very loud. Like, I expected when, the opening scene where Fran has her head against the wall and goes, "Bow!" I thought that was going to be really loud, but it didn't end up being that loud, but, still absolutely amazing to see this movie in 3D, and I kind of forgot how much I love this movie, and it is in my top 5 favorite horror movies, and I'm just so excited to show you guys what I got from this movie, which is in my room, and, dude, I'm just so excited. I think you guys are gonna think this is awesome, and, the reason why I haven't had many videos or podcasts recently is because, one, school, is the end of our, not term, quarter, so I've been, working on that, making sure my grades were up to par, and I've been literally, making my room look so cool. I've turned it into this absolutely awesome, place, and I'm just so excited to show you guys. And so stay tuned for around next week, maybe the week after, but I'm definitely doing a room tour so I can show off this thing I got. And then next up, we've got Dawn of the Dead 3D again, but this was early this month. This was a week ago. It was a week ago Friday. And I got to see it again, but this time I got to see it with my 2 friends who'd never seen it before. And, dude, it was crazy because we were in an even bigger theater than I originally saw it in on the first showing, the first time I saw it, and it was literally us 3 in the theater, and it was just so awesome because we were yelling, we were laughing, when the zombies got pied, we were dying. It was just super awesome to see it without any other people, and this, I think that might be the only time ever that I have ever been to a movie where we were the only people. I think with every other one, there was at least one other person. Maybe Total Recall. I cannot recall if there was one other person or not. But Dawn of the Dead, it was great to see it again. The 3D was out of focus I remembered what that was like from Jaws, and the 3D was out of focus. And so I told my friends to stay there, and I ran out, and I asked an employee if he could come fix it. He fixed it. It was great. And it was super cool because this is one that my dad and me disagree on heavily. I think it is a masterpiece, one of my favorite movies, my 5th favorite horror movie, and my dad really does, it seems like he doesn't really like it. And so he agreed to see it with me for the first time in 3D because he thought he just knew it was awesome because it was local, it was at our local Regal, and we went and saw it, and he still kind of thought the same, but he liked it a little bit better, he said. So I wasn't expecting my friends who are huge fans of Walking Dead to really enjoy it, but to my shock, they liked it. And I thought it was funny because when the zombies were getting pied, they were dying, and I was like, oh my god, I thought that they would think this was too cheesy, but really funny to see that. And another great part of this time seeing it was because since the film was technically rated unrated, we could see it by ourselves. We didn't need an adult, so my mom dropped me and my friends off, and we saw Dawn of the Dead by ourselves. There was no adults in the theater, so that was great. Yeah, I just really enjoyed seeing Dawn of the Dead both times, and I'm just so excited to show you guys what I got. And it is probably the centerpiece of my entire collection of collecting stuff. So stay tuned to the channel to see what I got, and I'm just so excited to get into it. Alright guys, so I have my last classic movie I've seen in the theater. This happened last Wednesday. Absolutely amazing. I made my long-awaited return to the Senator Theater. I hadn't been there in more than 9 months. And I got to see Goodfellas, baby. My 5th favorite movie of all time. My favorite drama movie. Best mob movie. Way better than The Godfather. The Godfather's great, but The Godfather's too long, and it's a little bit boring. Goodfellas, there's not one part that I find boring, and it was just super awesome, because there was a lot of people at this. I would say, like, half the theater was sold, and I believe there was, like, 640, seats in their main auditorium, and, it was just super great to go and see, that movie on the Senator big screen. Still, amazing to go to the Senator every single time, and once again, I was definitely the only kid there, but I absolutely loved it. And Goodfellas, It's one that I find I rewatch more than almost any other movie of all time, because I watch it at least 4 times a year. I believe since I've watched it last year, I've watched it, like, I watched it last May for the first time. I've watched an absurd amount of times. I believe I've watched it 9 times, including this most recent time seeing it, the Senator. This is one of my dad's favorite movies, so I knew this would be one, because I feel like sometimes I'm dragging my dad to the theater, like with, Dawn of the Dead, but, I knew it was great to see Goodfellas, because that's one of his favorite movies, and that is definitely one of my favorite movies, and, I just absolutely love Goodfellas, and I still cannot believe that it is, an actual real, story. Mostly, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's all real, but yeah. And I did some research, and I saw basically every single person who was alive at the end of Goodfellas is dead except for Karen, which she's not that old. I think she's like 73. She's not that old, and she's still alive, Karen Hill. But Henry and obviously the other Robert De Niro's character, I cannot remember his name right now, in the movie, but he's obviously dead, and so is Paul Cicero. They said he was dead even at the end of the movie, but super cool, and definitely my favorite Martin Scorsese movie I've seen. The only other one I've seen was Cape Fear, which no doubt was great, but I have to watch Taxi Driver and all those, because I know those are his true, like, great movies, but I don't know how anything could top Goodfellas. But that is every single movie I've seen in the theater up to this point, and I believe it is 20 plus. I'd have to count, but man, this is my favorite hobby besides collecting. I'd say maybe it's even more fun than collecting, because it just gives me something to look forward to. And currently, there's not many that new movies or old movies that I'm looking forward to. There's like none on my calendar, I would say, but they've got new movies like The Fabelmans and Knives Out 2, baby, which comes out a month before it comes out on Netflix. I'm going to see it the month early, and The Fabelmans looks like an absolutely amazing Steven Spielberg movie, so I'm excited for those. But yeah, classic movies, I'll continue to go and see them in the theater, because they are just such a different experience seeing them in the theater versus at home. And my friend, he doesn't understand, and he's like, why did you drive to Washington, D.C. to see Halloween 3? He's never even seen Halloween 3. I was like, you don't understand. But I know there's definitely other people who agree with me, but it is just so worth it, and it is just gives me some of the best memories of all time. Like, just, I can't even imagine, like, that I would be able to see Halloween 3 in theaters. I could imagine all these other ones happening at some point, but Halloween 3 is my favorite one I've seen, just because of how rare it is, and just how awesome it is that people actually care about this movie as well as me. Care enough to put this film back in the theaters for its 40th anniversary. So that's just amazing. But I just absolutely love doing this, and The Senator is my all-time favorite theater. I really hope they put out some good classics, and on their, like, I really just hope on their revival list that they put Terminator 2, baby. I've seen them do it before, did it a few years ago, and that'll be probably the greatest day of my life. I'm not even joking. Maybe that's a stretch. But, yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching this Cool Earrings podcast. I don't know what the next one will be. I was going to do one for Stranger Things Day, but I was just too tired, and so I had to skip that. But this was one that I planned 2 days ago, but I didn't have time to record it, and yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching this Cool Earrings podcast. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.